This morning, we are continuing our live coverage of the Mark Sievers murder for hire trial. Today, it will be the defense's turn to present their strategy in their case. It is their job to paint Mark Sievers, the husband of Dr. Teresa Sievers, as just a grieving husband. But their strategy could also recall some familiar faces to the stand as we listen to some key witness testimony later on today. But first, let's do a little background in case you haven't been with us throughout the entire trial. The state says Mark Sievers hired Curtis Wayne Wright and Jimmy Rogers to murder his wife, Dr. Teresa Sievers. Rogers was convicted of second-degree murder last month. He's expected to get 25 years in prison. Wright took a plea deal in this case. Wright testified against both Rogers and Mark Sievers in exchange for a reduced sentence. We saw him early on in this trial. So far, his testimony is the clearest link between Mark Sievers and the murder. And he may not be done in this case either. The defense kept their option to recall him as a witness. As I mentioned before, today will be the defense's turn since the state rested yesterday. As for the defense's strategy, a lot of what they focused on so far is money. It's one of the motives Wright offered for the murder. He claims Mark Sievers wanted to collect on Teresa Sievers' multiple life insurance policies. It's also one Mark Sievers' defense attorney focused on during opening statements.
Mark had reciprocal life insurance out on himself. That Teresa was underinsured considering her profession, and she's going to give you some testimony about the age and the history of these insurance policies. Ultimately, it is our position that Teresa Sievers was worth more alive than dead.
In those opening statements, that defense attorney also mentioned that they would call an expert witness to appraise those insurance policies to prove that claim. So that is one of the many things we could see play out in the courtroom today. Now, we also turn to Pam C. for a more in-depth look at the defense's potential strategy. Now, she's a law professor at Florida Gulf Coast University, and she told us that she sees the defense using their time to try and introduce certain lifestyle choices between Teresa Sievers and also Mark Sievers. She also said they'll try to use that same strategy when it comes to Curtis Wayne Wright.
The relationships that might have been between Teresa and Curtis Wayne Wright. And if they can play that up, if they can find a way to sell that story, I think they might be able to buy their reasonable doubt at that point. But it's going to be an interesting couple of days coming up.
What Pam is referring to there are the claims that Teresa and Mark Sievers had an open relationship and that they were actively seeing other people. Now, I want to remind you that Fox 4 is in your corner. We are your complete source for everything on this trial. So this is a years-long case that has been developing with a lot of different parts to it as well. For all of our coverage since the murder happened, just head over to our website, fox4now.com, or use the Fox 4 app. We're also putting up the latest updates on the Fox 4 Facebook and Twitter pages. Our very own Sandra Rodriguez has been inside of the courtroom throughout this entire trial. She's live tweeting the trial. She'll also be posting updates not just on Twitter, but also on our Facebook page as well.